Hi, this is Peter from swanseatechsupport.co.uk. You're watching a video on Excel timesheets, how to create a simple timesheet to record staff clocking times. So first off, we'll throw together a simple template that you can use to record clocking times of your staff, and then we'll just tweak a few of those formulas just to kind of give it a more professional touch to the whole spreadsheet. But before we begin, I noticed that when I create this, it comes up with a few error messages that you might experience. I just want to show you how to turn off a lot of those unnecessary error messages first. So if you just come into the file, go to Options, and then just go to the Formula bar. So you can see here, the only ones I actually have checked on here are this one and this one. All these other ones, like formulas referring to empty cells and things like that, just really don't matter to me at all. These are the only two which actually have errors in them, so those are the only ones I actually want showing. So just make sure that only those two are checked and click OK on that one. And then we're good to go. So the format for our table is going to be, the column headings are going to be day, the time we clock in, the time we start break, okay, just double click that one to enlarge it, the time that they finish break, okay, the time that they clock out, and then we're going to have the total time. And then, quite often you need to input this data on another spreadsheet somewhere else or into a database somewhere, and they often want you to have the decimal values there rather than the time values. So we'll just have the Excel actually convert those into decimals for us as well. So the date, let's just start on today's date, which is going to be the 14th of March 2012. Okay, notice that I'm in the UK because I put the 14th first, but that's fine. Okay, let's drag these some kind of arbitrary number, just because I want to show you here on the autofill options which you have on Excel 2007 and Excel 2010. You can actually come down to fill in the weekdays if you only work Monday to Friday. You can fill that in, and I also want to change this formatting on here as well, because I want to show what day of the week it is alongside the date there. So come up to number. We're going to use a custom number format, which is going to be day, 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 which is going to be a short day, as opposed to the long day. Why else? Day, day, yeah, okay. And that will then give us that one. If you want to change it to the long date, just come up here, put an extra D in there, and that will then give you the long date, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. See, it's so much easier to just do it. Okay, there we go. Okay, enough faffing about. Let's get on with this thing. Okay, so we've got 9 o'clock that they clock in. They typically will take their break at about 12 till about half an hour, about 12:30. Typically clock out around 5 o'clock. So our decimal time is going to be the time that they clock out, take away the time that they finish their break. That'll give us the afternoon session, and to that we want to add the morning session, which is the time that they start break. Oops, no, not the equal sign. I want to go to minus the time that they clocked in, okay, and that will just give us Control Enter on that one. Will give us 7.5 hours. That's fine. Now I want to convert this one into a decimal, so I want to say equals that one times by 1 day, 24 hours. So if I remember where my multiplication symbol is, 24, multiply that, Control Enter, and then we have our basic template there. I'll just put some borders on there. Okay, a few things that I want to change. Firstly, with this one, I want to change the format of that first of all, back to a number. Okay, 7.5. Okay, so if we change the break, say to 23, we're going to get this long series of numbers. Now, we can come up here, we can format it to 2 decimal places. Reason I don't want to do that is because when we give it to whoever else, we'll only be giving the 2 decimal places. So when they do their calculations and when we do our calculations based on this, it's actually going to be slightly at odds with one another. So I want to actually round this off actually in the formula itself. So if I do any calculations on that, then it's always going to be to the 2 decimal places. So I'm going to round, and we want the number, and then we want the number of digits we want to round it to. It's going to be 2 decimal places. So press Control Enter on that one, and we now have this rounded off nicely and neatly for any calculations we want to do. The other thing that I want to do is that when we have this, and what I'm going to clear these by holding down the left mouse button and just dragging through the cells to get that grey hash sign through, is that when I do that, I actually going to get all that. So if I fill in all these values, you know, I'm going to get lots of ugly noughts there, which are kind of unnecessary. So the typical way to do this is to use an if statement and say if that, or that, or that, or that. If all of them are all blank, then what we want is to show a blank in that cell. Otherwise, do that formula there. So we want to get if or there. And we want to say if or B2 is going to be the range, and this is going to be 2, so colon E2, that'll be our range then. If B2 to E2 equals a blank, which is double quote, then what we want is a blank there. We don't want anything, so just put double quote. Otherwise, and I know what I've done there, if B2 to E2, and I want to end off my OR function there. Okay, if the OR of B2 to E2 equals blank, then we want that. Otherwise, if the value is false, we want that round function there. So Control Enter on that one, and we get the value. That's fine. That's because when you have B2 to E2 like that, it's what's called an array formula in Excel. So to get that to work, rather than pressing Enter, you have to press Control Shift and Enter. And we'll do that there. Okay, so that will now work. And now when we type in 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 12:25, and clocking out at 17 o'clock, now we got 7.5 hours, or 7.35, which comes to 7.58 there. Okay, that's all working nicely, except for this column now. Okay, so the problem that I have with this one now is that typically when somebody takes a 25-minute break like that, they're actually only entitled to half an hour. So we need to round that up to half an hour any time that it falls below half an hour. So we'll put our hurdle in here of half an hour. And what we want to say is, okay, let's take that whole if formula again, if or, and that's going to be B2 to E2. If those are all blank, now close off the OR formula. If those are blank, value if true, well, we want a blank there. And then if false, I want that formula that I had before, except I want to say if here, this one minus the start, if that 25 minutes there is less than my hurdle, my half an hour, okay, those are less than half an hour, then what I want is I want it to show that half an hour. So it'll be the time you clocked out minus the time they clocked in minus this half an hour. And then if, okay, and that's if it's true, if it is less than half an hour. If it's not half an hour, if they've taken 40 minutes or whatever, then I want them to take that 40-minute break. I don't want to pay them for that 40 minutes anyway. So value if false is that if is the one we had before, that one minus that one plus the morning time, which is that one minus that one. And now what we can do is press Control Shift and Enter, because it'll be another array formula. Ooh, it's found an error in that. Okay. No, because I want to know what I did wrong here. If D2 minus C2 is less than that, then I want that, otherwise I won't be, okay, and I just want another bracket in there. Okay, that's good. Control Shift Enter. Okay, now I got my 7.5 hours. Now when I fill that down there, I get that, and now when I fill that down there, that goes like that. Okay, now if I go to 40-minute break there, so 12:40, that should come down to 7:20, and that's a nice neat little 7.33. Okay, now if you don't want to have this hurdle there permanently all the time, what you can do is to change this, and in fact you'll need to do it anyway, because when we copy this down, you notice that I2 there goes to I3, goes to I4. Now you can do this in one of two ways. Either you can press F4 on there once, and that locks the formula. Okay, so that means that when you fill it down now, it'll always be pointing at that. Control Shift Enter, come back in there, Control Shift Enter. Okay, so now when you copy this down like that, and you come to one of these cells, that's still I2 there, that is still I2 there. Another way of doing it is to actually take the value that we had in there, the half an hour, actually hard code it into the formula itself. So if you just double click on it like I did there, come on to the brown one there, okay, double click on the hurdle, and then we'll just press the F9 key, and that will come up with this ridiculously long series of threes, these recurring threes which happen on a half an hour. Okay, so we do the same thing again, press F9, and now we want Control Shift and Enter. And there you have it. Okay, that's a slightly more complicated way of doing a timesheet, but if you're using this on a regular basis with staff, that might be a few little things, a few little tricks there you might want to just bear in mind. Okay, so that's it for me. Thanks for watching.